This man is a real-life American hero. He won an Olympic gold medal, then decided to take over WWE, and did it faster than almost anyone in history. Vince McMahon, the boss of WWE, saw Kurt Angle and knew he was a megastar. He was the perfect athlete and the perfect entertainer. Angle was supposed to be the #1 guy for a decade. But backstage, another superstar was building his own empire. The cerebral assassin, Triple H, was taking over, and he was making sure his spot at the top was safe. In the middle of it all, a crazy political war was starting, a battle that fans thought would define the entire company. This is the insane story of how Kurt Angle, maybe the greatest wrestler ever, got pushed out of the WWE. This is what happens when a wrestling machine crashes into a political one. You will not believe how this meeting went down. In 2006, Kurt Angle walked into WWE headquarters, but he wasn't there to talk about wrestling. He came to give his boss an ultimatum. And what Vince McMahon did next is unbelievable. He pulled out 7 printed pages of text messages and voicemails from Kurt. Threats, promises to beat him up, rants so insane that Angle couldn't even remember sending them. This was a man at his absolute breaking point, addicted to painkillers and completely out of control. How did it get this crazy? How did WWE's Golden Boy end up in a screaming match with his boss, begging to be fired? To understand this, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. Before all the chaos, Kurt Angle was unstoppable. When he showed up in WWE in 1998, it was huge. This wasn't some random wrestler. He won an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck. At first, Angle told WWE he would never lose a match. But then he saw how much the fans loved Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he was in. He signed an 8-year contract. His talent was just on another level. After only a few days of training, he was having professional matches. He debuted on TV in November 1999, and his rise was the fastest thing we've ever seen. In what might be the greatest rookie year ever, he won the European Championship, then the Intercontinental Championship. And by October 2000, in less than a year on TV, he beat The Rock to become WWE Champion. This guy was on top of the entire wrestling world. Vince McMahon was obsessed. He had the perfect superstar. Angle had real-life Olympic medals, which made him legit, but he was also hilarious. One night he'd have the best wrestling match you've ever seen, and the next he'd be doing comedy, spraying people with milk. He could do anything. It seemed like he was going to dominate for the next 10 years. But while Angle was becoming a huge star, someone else was grabbing power backstage. The entire company was changing, and the next few years would be all about the politics of Triple H. Their first big rivalry was a love triangle with Stephanie McMahon in 2000, and it was a massive success. Behind the scenes, they were all friends, but on screen, it set up a battle for the top spot that would last for years. As Triple H's real relationship with Stephanie grew, so did his power in the company. He wasn't just a wrestler anymore, he was helping decide the future of WWE. When WWE split its roster into 2 shows, Raw and SmackDown, Vince McMahon made a huge choice. He put Triple H in charge of Raw and made Kurt Angle the face of SmackDown. On paper, this was amazing for both guys, but in reality, it created a massive divide. Raw, with Triple H, was seen as the main show, and SmackDown, even with its incredible matches, felt like the B show. That time, from 2002 to 2005, is known as the Reign of Terror. For almost 3 years, Triple H was the World Heavyweight Champion on Raw, and the show got stale. All these other amazing wrestlers, Rob Van Dam, Kane, Booker T, Goldberg, would get built up just to lose to Triple H. Fans believed that Triple H was using his backstage power to crush anyone who might take his spot. Meanwhile, over on SmackDown, KurtAngle was having the best matches of his life. He was the king of what many call SmackDown's golden era, wrestling guys like Brock Lesnar, Eddie Guerrero, and Edge. He and Lesnar had an insane 60-minute Iron Man match that is still one of the greatest TV matches ever. And his WrestleMania match against Shawn Michaels is legendary. Angle was a wrestling machine who delivered every single night. But no matter what he did, there was a glass ceiling. While Angle was the king of SmackDown, Triple H was the king of WWE. It didn't matter how good Angle's matches were, everyone thought Raw was the only show that mattered, and Triple H was the guy in charge. So fans started wondering, was Angle on SmackDown because he was the perfect star to build a show around, or was he sent there just to keep him away from Triple H? This question got even louder in 2005 when Angle came back to Raw. He was still a top star, but years of wrestling at an Olympic level and the insane WWE schedule were destroying his body. The wrestling machine was starting to break. The real story of Kurt Angle's exit isn't about politics. It's a completely gut-wrenching story of a man whose body was just giving out, and the desperate things he did to keep going. That neck he broke before the Olympics was a ticking time bomb. After breaking it again in a WWE ring, the pain never went away. To deal with it, he was introduced to painkillers. A doctor told him, "These things are the greatest things in the world. You're gonna love them." And at first, they worked. He took one pill every few hours, exactly like he was told, and it let him keep performing at a level. But your body builds a tolerance. Soon, one pill did nothing. The pain would come back, and even worse, he'd get sick from withdrawal. The numbers are terrifying. At his absolute worst, Kurt Angle has admitted he was taking up to 65 extra-strength Vicodin a day. This wasn't to get high, it was just to stop the withdrawal sickness and numb the agony. Angle said, "The reason why I was taking them was not because of the pain anymore, it was because I was going through withdrawal." This cost him $7,000 every single month. To get enough pills, he had 12 different doctors and used 12 different pharmacies. When that didn't work, he started buying them illegally from Mexico. His entire life was just about getting more pills. The physical damage was insane. In 2006, he wrestled with a torn ab muscle, a torn groin, and a torn hamstring, all at the same time. He was bleeding so badly inside that his entire groin area turned black, and he was still wrestling. He even wrestled that classic Iron Man match against Brock Lesnar the day after his sister died of a heroin overdose, just so he wouldn't have to feel the pain for an hour. WWE knew he had a problem. Angle said some people in the company saw he was a walking wreck, but as long as he could wrestle, the show went on. With over 300 shows a year, he had zero time to heal. He begged for a part-time contract, but the company wanted him to go to rehab first, and Angle refused. The pressure was coming from everywhere. The pain, the addiction, and his boss ignoring him. It was a complete recipe for disaster. By the summer of 2006, Kurt Angle just wanted out of WWE. He felt like Vince McMahon was avoiding his calls, which only made him angrier. He started leaving voicemails and texts, lashing out at the man he once saw as a father. The whole thing exploded at a meeting. In a moment of pure desperation, Angle walked up to Vince, pulled his pants down, and showed him the disgusting black and blue bruising all over his groin. "We need to talk," he said. They set up a meeting in Vince's office. On the table were 7 pages, a full transcript of every voicemail and text he had sent. As Angle read the horrible things he wrote, "Vince, I'm gonna kick your ass when I see you," he was disgusted. He barely even remembered sending them because he was blacking out from the painkillers. According to Angle, Vince McMahon looked at him, stood up, and took off his jacket. "You want to beat my ass?" he said. "Let's fight right now." In that single moment, Angle realized how bad things were. Here he was, about to get in a fist fight with his own boss, a man he respected. Overwhelmed, Angle walked out of the office and just started crying in the hallway. He knew what he had to do. He couldn't go on like this. WWE offered rehab, but Angle felt he had to get away from the place that was killing him. He walked back into the office, looked at Vince, and said the words that would end his WWE career. He apologized and said, "If you don't let me go, I think I'm going to kill myself." He wasn't suicidal. He meant he knew he was going to accidentally overdose if something didn't change. The fight was over. Vince McMahon looked at the completely broken man in front of him and just said, "You're released." He promised Angle his job back in 6 months if he wanted it, but Kurt was done. The very next day, he was on a plane to meet with TNA Wrestling. The war he was fighting, in the end, wasn't with Triple H. It was a war for his own life. So was Kurt Angle really forced out of WWE by a political war with Triple H? The answer, from Angle himself, is so much more tragic than that. The war that pushed him out wasn't in backstage meetings. It was a war inside his own body and his own mind. He was fighting non-stop pain and a massive addiction. The insane WWE schedule was the battlefield, and it was a battle he was losing. The politics weren't about one wrestler holding another down. It was about a giant company that, back then, didn't know how to save one of its biggest stars who was falling apart. Angle needed less wrestling, but WWE's business model demanded its top guys work full-time. He needed help, but his addiction made him lash out, which led to the explosive breakup with Vince. His time in TNA Wrestling proves it. From 2006 to 2016, on a lighter schedule, he had what many say was the best run of his career, with legendary matches against Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and Sting. The wrestling machine wasn't broken. It was just being run into the ground by a system that was impossible to survive. He wasn't forced out because he couldn't wrestle anymore. He was forced out because he couldn't wrestle anymore that way. The story of Kurt Angle's WWE exit is an insane warning about the human cost of being one of the best wrestlers in the world. If you enjoyed this crazy story, do us a huge favor and slap that subscribe button and give this video a like. And tell us in the comments, what is your favorite Kurt Angle match ever? Let's celebrate the incredible career of the one and only Olympic hero. Thanks for watching!